Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. We have bellied up to the bar today. We are talking about something that I didn't know a lot about. I had to do a little bit of a research, but as we know, with a squirrel brain like mine, we only get so far, and we do our best to make it happen. So we're talking about the United Nations Association tonight. Right? Somebody's got a little bit of a feedback going on. Got two mics feeding into it. Is that you, Peter? We'll figure it out here. Let's see. I can always figure it out. It's the easy way. All right. So, nope, that's not it. Let's see if it's that one.
I don't know. I mean, is it?
Let's see. I got it. I think I got it. Let's see. But we're talking about it's a speaker feed. Yep, I figured it out. Tom, somebody's speakers feeding back. I think it's you, Dave. So we're talking about the United Nations Association today. And I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know what it was. I had to do a little bit of research myself into it to figure out what the United Nations Association was. So we're going to be talking about that today. But we've brought back with us the most majestic, the beautiful, the stunning, the keeps me on my toes when I make mistakes at any given time. And you can ask all the politicians throughout California, and they will tell you the same exact thing. We've brought back with us today, we have Miss Kristin Manna.
Oh my gosh, Sean, it's always a pleasure. I hope I don't step you up. I try to have interesting questions.
You keep me on my toes.
Okay.
You keep me on my toes. And then
I love your show.
Thank you.
So many.
Dave, I'm getting feedback on your end. If you can stick those headphones on. The feedback's on your end.
On mine?
Yep, two mics. And then we have with us the most dapper of all of us. I feel like I've underdressed here at the bar today. I've only got my T-shirt on. He is very stylish, a jet setter, has probably the best title that I've seen in a while because, I don't have a title. I thought I was good as a director of something. We've brought with us today and this is, and as you hear this is why this is going to make more sense, folks. We brought with us the vice chairman of the California GOP. Now, Peter, if I mess your last name up, you can correct me. Is it Coy? Can you hear me, Peter? I think you froze. I froze Peter. Froze him out.
It's Quo. Peter Quo.
Yeah. Mr. Peter Quo.
It's yeah.
You didn't know you were getting applause, did you, Peter? And he's got a pretty cool desk. I have to say.
It's Peter Quo, like Santa. Right.
Santa Quo. I get it. I like it.
Okay.
You are Apple Podcast. Yes. Karam, yes, we're on. We have an Apple Podcast. Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay?
I can. And we've brought with us, the man who's going to be able to tell me everything about the United Nations Association. We have we thought we were just a regular bar. He's brought his own piano with us today. So we're actually a piano bar today. We're not dueling though. We have with us today Mr. Dave Rice.
Hello, and can you hear me, Sean?
I can. I'm still getting feedback from somewhere.
Yeah, I don't.
Let's see. Keep talking, Dave. Say hello to me for a second. No, I've muted you out. And every time I mute you, when I mute you, it cuts it off. So I don't know where we're getting it from. If there's a second device that's coming through, but we'll figure it out. So let's go ahead and get some housekeeping done real quick, folks, before we get too far into this. As always, if you've got something you're supporting, maybe you've got an association you belong to, whether it be an Elks Lodge, whether it be a Masonic Lodge, maybe it's another United Nations association. There are 200 of them across the United States, and you're supporting one of those. Reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Instagram, TikTok, even our email. It's all the Above the Bar podcast. Reach out. Let me know what you got going on. I'll tell you the address. We'll get your sticker up here on the board behind me for sticker and a cause, and you'll get free advertisement for whatever it is that you're supporting. So make sure you reach out to us. Once again, like I said, sticker and a cause. The other side to this is, hey, maybe your media needs to be part of an association. Maybe your media isn't quite united of its own, and you need a little support. Well, make sure you're reaching out to Media by Dibs. That's DIBS. Media by Dibs. And you can find him on Facebook, and you can find him on Instagram at Media by Dibs, or you can find him on LinkedIn at Andrew Dibble, Dibble, Andrew Dibble. And you mentioned to him that you're there to belly up to the bar. He's going to give you a 10% discount off of your first order, and he's going to give you a free consultation. That's Media by Dibs. All right. So, Peter, I'm going to keep you muted until it's time for you to talk. Nothing personal, but we're getting a lot of feedback on your end on that side. So, I'm going to let you guys talk to me about I'll tell you what I know about the United Nations Association. From the little bit of research that I was able to do on it, there's 20,000 members, 60%. This is one of the things, and I'd love to hear the feedback on why you all think this is this way. 60% of the membership here is under the age of 26, with 200 chapters across the country. And it's all about global engagement. I was super surprised. You can't find him on the podcast. Who can't you find on a podcast there, Nate? I don't know what you're talking about. But what really kind of surprised me on all this was the fact that there were so many young people. Dave, as the president of your chapter, and you'll see it scrolling along the bottom, folks. That's una-oc.org. I'll let you talk first. Why do you think there's so many young people involved in this?
Yeah, okay. Can you hear me now, Sean? Oh, great. So, it's really interesting. Young people today are really interested in the term sustainable. Anything sustainable is, whether it's climate, the environment, anything regenerative. Young people are very into it. And so what the UN is really known for today is for the Sustainable Development Goals. And we'll talk more about that, I'm guessing, on this show. But to answer your question, those goals, which are basically the 17 goals that has been set for the world, it's called Agenda 2030. There are targets for each of the goals starting 2030, starting with ending poverty, ending hunger, quality healthcare, quality education, gender equality. Young people are very attracted to these goals. And then, as we'll talk a little more, not only are they interested in them globally, but we are working on a program called Local 2030, which is applying those goals to our communities here locally. And that's where it gets really exciting, and we're getting a lot of interest from young folks in particular.
I like what Nate or what my buddy Tom says. Indeed, we want our children to survive it. And they will do better as long as they listen to their parents. And that's just, as a dad, your survival is very dependent on how well you listen to me. So now I'm going to toss it to you for a second here, Peter. Mainly because you're the vice chairman of the California GOP, and it's kind of unique to have somebody in your position involved with a group like that. Would you say that's accurate? Oh, did I lose you, Peter? I think Peter froze on me. Well, you answer it, Kristin. Throwing it to you.
Okay. Well, I'm
with,
there you go.
With the California Party is
Well,
it
I'm
me
gonna throw
or,
it to you, Peter. You're
me,
choppy. Right? You're choppy right now. I think something's going on with your internet.
Wow.
We can hear you now.
I can hear you. Go ahead and give it a shot.
Yeah, I don't know this. I mean, my bandwidth. Okay, GOP is pretty much takes. However, when Dave approached me about the United Nations 17 SDGs, he wanted to get involved because, you know, who wouldn't want to be for gender equality? Who wouldn't want to be for decent work and economic growth, right? So all the 17 items on the agenda has been very attractive to me since I was a child. So equality, you know, and also no poverty, zero hunger. Those are the real goals of achieve as a group, not just as a party, in my opinion. So I jump on the opportunity to work with all fronts in terms of the 17.
And I like the fact that you're saying those 17 factors, they shouldn't have party lines to them. They're just things that as
Is that good, or are you guys, can you hear me? I'm like,
you're still a little choppy there, Peter. Your internet.
Sorry, man. Okay.
I'm going to try to somehow, if we can combine what you've got going on and what Dave's got going on, we will have a full internet working with everything happening at this moment. Yeah, you're a little choppy. Now, I got to ask though, Kristin. So you are the busiest, and I mean this with all love in my heart. You're the busiest damn person I know. Like you're the only person I know that when I check, I'm on Eastern Standard Time and check my phone at 6 o'clock in the morning when I get up. And there may be a text message from Kristin that came an hour prior to that talking about, hey, did you know? No, I don't hear it because look, I'm asleep. The only thing that wakes me up is my cat in the morning, and that's a whole because he's a punk ass. But well, you know, what got you so this is another thing. Why are you involved in this one, Kristin? Don't you have enough things doing in your day?
No, I don't. Well, here's what I am involved in a lot of things, and I do have a career coach, and she says, Kristin, you need to pace yourself. So I am trying to pace myself. Okay. Sean. But anyway,
fast pace.
Yeah.
Fast pace. It's a fast pace.
Fast pace. Yeah, that's true. See, I'm gonna bring that up. Anyway, the reason why I'm involved with the United Nations Association is because this is what it drew me to politics. It's improving communities, one community at a time. You know, like we always talk about think globally, but act locally. And I really feel like this helps communities. You know, this is a tangible way with data to support our work, you know, and I've worked on several nonprofits, and we've talked about them before. But what I really like, I really keyed into the 17 SDGs, which we'll talk about later, and their efforts, because we just don't talk about the efforts, we do, you know, and we not only do, and our club members, we get involved with local events, you know, and this year I am working as the governmental affairs ambassador, which means that I work with all the mayors. I'm meeting with all the mayors in Orange County, and I'm going to be asking them, out of our 17 SDGs, what do you need help with in your community, and how can we help you? So this is like a solution-based reason why I came into politics. I came into politics to help make our communities better, and the UNA does a fabulous job of doing that.
And it's very neat. And Dave, I got a question for you. So you've been, how many years have you been involved in this?
Only been in just over two and a half years.
So
not that long.
Okay. So, but now here's my question with it then, is when with this, you know, and Kristin had to explain it to me. Because initially I'm thinking United Nations, I'm thinking the blue flag and everything else, you know, blue helmets and the, you know, the whole 9 yards. When you start presenting this to people, how difficult is it to get, especially here in the States? I know, and I've told this story before, and I'll tell it now. When I recruited for the Marine Corps, I'll never forget, probably one of the oddest questions I was ever asked. I was sitting with a mother who was about to sign on the dotted line for her son to join the Marine Corps, and she stopped before she signed, and her question to me was, if my son joins the Marine Corps, will he ever have to be under a United Nations command? And I was like 27, 20 years old. I'm like, no, he'll always have a Marine commander. But, there is a stigma here. So how do you approach that to people when you initially say United Nations Association?
Right. It's a great question, Sean, and you're absolutely right. There is this image out there often, especially, and that's why it's interesting, and I'm so grateful to have folks like Peter and Kristin and others, in our team and in our group, because we truly are a nonpartisan, bridge builder that is looking at the issues and not ideologies and not identities. But that's what happens with the UN. They get linked to an identity, and what part of the problem is just, frankly, our fault. Our organization's role, ever since the founding of the UN back in the U.S. in 1945, was to help educate the community on the value of the UN. What is it doing? How is it helping us, right? And I'm not sure we've done a great job with that. Many people view the UN simply from more militaristic terms, or, just its one purpose of trying to, sort of hold the line with diplomacy and peace, which clearly was one of the top two purposes of forming the UN after World War II. But what we explain is that the other real purpose in forming the UN was a council called the Social and Economic Council. And that's role was to try to work on world problems, because these problems are the things that cause conflict. These problems are the things that, cause conditions of war. And so if we can help ameliorate these problems, then we've got a better chance of maintaining the peace. And so that's where the World Health Organization came from, UNESCO, that works on education for kids, and all of these great things that the UN really does that we just haven't done a great job of letting people know about, distributing vaccines globally to millions of people, helping refugees, providing, maternal health care around the world. So there's a lot there. We just need to better explain it.
And like I said, it's so interesting that, we don't really, in the States, we don't know. I'll be the first to admit, like when I think of the UN, and I said it, blue helmet. Mm-hmm. I think of a blue helmet. I think of, a movie where, hey, we've got to get to this point, and then there's UN troops that'll back up these troops because they've got this group there, or that group there. That's my outlook on it as an organization. These other things that you're talking about never cross my mind. They never do.
Right. And that's why this model of the Sustainable Development Goals, which, by the way, is represented by this little lifesaver looking pin that I'm wearing here, 17 colors around it, that emblem is something that folks are going to see more and more. I mean, you're really seeing it at college campuses today, in a lot of places. But that model of the Sustainable Development Goals, these 17 goals for the world, is what we're really looking to bring to the fore here, certainly starting in Southern California and then rolling it throughout California. And there's some other efforts going on in the U.S. I was just in Washington, D.C. They're involved in it with D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. But as this all grows, then it'll become more apparent that we're all in this together, just working on solving problems in a reasonable way that has to do with setting targets and having everybody work together to measure success.
Now, I'm going to toss this over to Peter here for a moment. Now, Peter, you said that, when you mentioned that, hey, you got involved in this and, you saw the value in those 17 goals. When you present this, though, to people within your party who, again, I know from spending all my time in the Marine Corps, we've got that, United Nations, mentality of like, oh, that's bad. I'll be the first, we're brought through that mentality. How is it received, or what is your approach as somebody within that party to get people to understand that, no, this is a good thing. This is a positive thing.
That's another great question. I mean, Sean, I initially, when I started this about 9 months ago with Dave, I was skeptical because this is UN, and it seems to be this new world order that everybody thought about, and of course, as a Republican, like you shy away from it, right? But the more I look into the actual goals, and to me, it was like the end goal of politics is actually these goals: no poverty, zero hunger. I mean, on and on, right? So I asked myself, if we try to achieve those things, does it make a difference if it's a Republican or Democrats or even UN, right? And I chose to work with them to achieve those goals instead of just saying that this is the new world order that has nothing to do with me, because I see poverty firsthand in countries like Indonesia and third world countries in Africa. We see them. People just don't have food to eat, and how could you, as a government, and if you have the ability to help, why wouldn't you, right? So I think at the end of the day, the goals is what every government should strive for, and equal justice. I mean, who would be against that if you're a party, right? I mean, so at the end of the day, I look at our party platform, which is the California Republican Party's platform, and the 17 SDGs. It's very similar. This is what we're trying to achieve: education for all, low energy cost, and justice. No human trafficking, right? And who would be against those things? That puzzles me. So when I realized the goals are very similar to my own platform, I went for it.
Well, now I love my Tom. Him and I spent many an hour on a train to somewhere, and Tom is probably the most left person that I can tolerate, and I love him for it. And Tom says the entire capitalist economy is against those things. I got to ask, what are our feelings on that? That the entire capitalist economy, those things that we're mentioning, because I know his viewpoint on it, all these type of, because I hear those things and I'm a libertarian. So all those fall right smack dab into my wheelhouse of leave people alone, let them live their lives, provide what they need to, and don't mess with them. That's my outlook on things.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should have that right. And I've got to ask. And look, I can see Kristin. She's chomping at the bit. Look at her. She's ready to go. Ready to go.
Okay, so I do get a lot of feedback from my local OCGOP about this. I won't make any more comments about that because I love them. They just need to break down the barriers. Like there are things that people believe about the UNA that aren't true, and or the United Nations, and especially their national efforts. And the thing that is, we're not asking people, we're not taking money from people's taxes. We're building alliances with nonprofits that are out there that are helping us to develop these and to meet these solutions. So we're working with Second Harvest, we're working with United Way. We aren't asking for taxpayers' money. We're working with nonprofits to help us to meet these goals and meet these needs in our communities. So, we're not asking for an additional tax to be on people. We're building alliances, and that's number 17 is building alliances. And so we're building alliances with nonprofits and associations and entities that will help us meet our goals and help us with ending hunger. We're not asking taxpayers to give us money. We're working with entities out there.
There's enough people asking for my money. Trust me.
Yeah.
Exactly. I just listened to the news today where they said, "Hey, don't do your taxes yet."
Sean,
we can't
I really want to get.
Yeah, we just listened to that this morning. But you know what? Though it brings up a question though, Peter, is with this that act locally, think globally. On a local standpoint, where you've got 9 months. David's got 2 years, almost 2.5 years doing it. Kristin, you've got a few months of doing it. What have you seen from a local standpoint where you're already seeing a local impact that you're like, when you have those questions that come to you that you can say, did you know? What are you seeing already?
Well, I think Dave.
So when I started this thing, Dave was muted. Yeah.
I got Dave muted. I'm going to get to Dave in a minute.
Okay. So when I started this thing, I heard this saying from this mentor of mine, who's a Republican volunteer, and he told me this: Peter, you someone to fish. If you fish, you feed them a lifetime. But if you teach them how to teach fishing, you change the world. And exactly what
that is the best
doing right now.
I love that.
Again, there are second giving away the food, and there are people teaching how to fish. But my job as a technology ambassador, that title that Dave had helped me to get, was to actually using capitalist solutions to solve these problems. And a perfect example will be an agriculture technology that I actually was able to see firsthand in Taiwan. They were growing coffee using a drip system, the pH balance detector. I mean, it was just sort of something I haven't seen here in California in terms of agriculture technology. But by applying that to in Africa, teach them how to teach fishing, duplicated this system, it can change the world. They can triple the harvest in terms of the tomatoes they're growing over there. So I think, at the end of the day, to answer that question from the audience, there's no capitalist giving money. Yes, but we're buying the solution from the to the local, which is given to the farmers to triple their productions of crops. So that's why it's the first result from a small town out of nowhere in Taiwan to be able to bring their technology to the world, and vice versa. There are so many technology right in Silicon Valley that we can share with the world, and there's no other ways faster to share with the world by United Nations Association. So that's exactly what the 17 SDGs is all about, was to learn from the locals and share with the country. So, yeah.
That makes sense to me. Look, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. And if you ain't got the money to buy the technology or to get the technology out of somebody's hand, they're not going to give it to you. I get it completely. I know exactly what you're saying. Now, David, I'm going to unmute you, and I'm sorry, David, that I got to keep muting you. It's just the feedback. I apologize. But now, if I was, I'm in Albany, New York, or as they like to call us, Smallbany. If I wanted to get involved or, to research, what's my process in any of this?
Yeah, great question. And at some point, I probably want to come back a little bit to your earlier questions too, Sean, on capitalism, on what are we doing. But yeah, the thing you do is just go look up unausa.org. And that's our national organization headquartered in DC, that we do have, as you mentioned, 200 chapters in the country. We also have a number of campus chapters at universities because students, again, are so interested. But somebody could, you could just get directed to a local chapter if you want, or, today in this Zoom world post-COVID, you can pretty much connect with any chapter. And frankly, we have a lot of folks from around the country that connect into our meetings often. But it's just a matter of signing up for a group in an area that you're passionate about and you want to contribute to. We're almost all volunteers in this association. There's a few groups that have some paid staff, but most of us it's a volunteer organization, and we're not unlike Rotary clubs and, many who we collaborate with. So, kind of to that point, you just said, what are you accomplishing? Well, one of the big things we're doing is we want to be a catalyst. Our key, thought is to be a catalyst in our community to help, especially with collaboration. especially creating bridges, not just political bridges, which clearly we're seeing live, and working together on all of these issues. Peter mentioned trafficking, et cetera, et cetera. But the collaboration that's needed, as you know, our society is not very good at linking organizations together. And so there's this huge need to be smarter about how we work together in concert to try and be more effective at solving problems. We're really kind of spinning a lot of wheels, wasting cycles in many ways when we don't do that. So that's one key thing. And then we're really looking to establish teams of experts in communities to solve each of the problems, like food shortage right now, or housing prices, or crime, or all of these various issues. Let's organize task force and expert teams to go ahead then and look at. So that's kind of the plan going forward with this whole thing. I don't want to take up too much, but I want to come back to your question too about the capitalism thing, and just say this one thing. One of the biggest things today is climate, right? Climate, I think most everybody's going to agree, is a problem, needs to be addressed. One of the best advocates of climate change out there is one of the top capitalists in America. His name is John Doerr, Doerr. He's the head of Kleiner Perkins, which is one of the largest venture capital firms in Silicon Valley. And he just wrote a book called Speed and Scale that lays out a very elaborate plan on what are our issues for solving climate and how are we going to do it with goals and objectives and market-driven incentives that are all pure capitalism based to help get us there. And it's really a worthwhile read. So I'll just say that, but I think that's a good, that points people into a good direction on that point.
I love a good read. I'm reading the Pitch Anything right now. Like Kristin, I love Kristin. She gets so excited.
I love reading.
She's so excited. She gets just amped up about it. So, well, I got to ask this though, Kristin. So you're Nick, the new guy in all this.
Mm-hmm.
You're just getting involved. I know you said the 17
SDGs, yeah.
Sierra Delta Golf.
Right. Exactly.
Right. The 17 SDGs is what drew you to it. But like a lot of things, we can be drawn to something, and then when we finally see it, it might be like, man, it's like that pair of shoes. You see them and you're like, man, I can wear them all day. And then you wear them for about 30 minutes. You're like, these damn things are uncomfortable. Yeah. What, as the new person, you're past that 90-day mark and you're still there. What's keeping you involved, or what would you say to somebody who's like, hey, I'm interested in this? Because I'll tell you right now, when I initially hear it, I've already told you that was my first thing. Kristin reached out to me and she didn't want to talk about the UN. What's keeping you involved?
It's really the teams that we're developing and the work that we're in the progress of doing. And like I said before, I've been involved with other nonprofits, and we throw an event, we get people to come, and it's a big hoopla. And then I'm like, well, what did we do? And that's what I love about the UNAOC and the UNA is that we have data to support, that like by 2020, it used to be local 2020, because that was our goals by the year 2020. And I've heard Dave say this before, but in our efforts for hunger, we decreased hunger by half, And so, the thing is that we're working on effective measures that are being driven. Like we have data results on what our results are. And I think, that is truly like a testimony in itself. And I feel like, there are lots of great nonprofits that do lots of great work. But what drew me to the UNA was the SDGs, but also the data to support their efforts, and the teams that are involved. I sit in these, we have meetings once a week. more than once, but we have one meeting in particular, and it's the leaders, in these different SDGs. And I sit there and I'm like, God, I'm in a room of giants, and I'm like, these people are talking about changing our world, and I'm like, they have such amazing, amazing ideas. And I just feel like I am so blessed to be here. So that's that in a nutshell. That is why I'm a part of the UNA.
I'm going to follow that up then, Kristin, because I got to follow it up with a question.
Yes.
So some of us are optimistic and some of us are pessimistic.
Mhm.
I have a tendency to try to be optimistic when I hear things
Mhm.
until I see implementation. Too many years of listening to say people say every plan is perfect until execution.
Mhm.
Is there been anything from an optimistic standpoint where you heard somebody say, hey, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do this, and you were like, ain't no way we're doing that? And Dave,
Yeah.
if you want to jump in afterwards, I'll give you a shot at it afterwards. But you were like, ain't no way that that's happening. And in the time you've been there, you've at least seen the framework or it's starting to move to that direction where you can see it happening.
I think in particular with, let's see, with the UNA, I would say that in particular, I was really surprised that, like, one of our goals is to end poverty. And I'm all, ending poverty, come on. It's always going to be there, right? And I'm like, wow. And this is like the first month that I'm in there, and I'm like, oh, brother. They're like, you're going to sell me on that? I'm like, that's not happening, right? But when I saw, because I've been with other entities, and they're like, oh yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to end homelessness. I'm like, you're not going to end homelessness. But the thing is that they have, like, back to the 2020 and how Dave showed us the data to support that we cut poverty in half. Like, we helped. I mean, that is a huge number. And I'm like, I don't think anybody else has done that. And we have a
When you
lot
say, I'm going to pause you for a second. When you say we've cut that in half, and if you need to pass it to Dave, we'll pass it to Dave. But what does that mean to say you've cut poverty in half? Because, you still go outside. I spend time in New York City and it still looks the same to me.
Right. Well, yeah, we better pass the data. The data, man.
All right. Yeah, what Kristin's referring to is this: the sustainable goals are for a period of 2015 to 2030. They're sometimes referred to as 2030. In the climate goals, Paris Accord, all these goals are targeted at 2030. So you hear that date a lot, right? But the initial set of goals started in 2000. And in 2000, that's when they started setting up goals. And they did from 2000, actually it was 2015, not 2020. They set these initial targets: end poverty, end hunger, quality healthcare, quality education, gender equality. And what they found, what the UN did globally, these are globally, they started setting up targets and then metrics, or what they call metrics or measurements, to measure progress. All right. And there's a whole set of these, Sean. There's 160 different metrics or measurements that fall in under these 17 goals. And if you go to places like this, the city of LA's website, they're one of the first cities in the country to have adopted the model. You'll see all 17 blocks, and you drill in on poverty, and you'll see what are the measurements that we're doing to track our progress on poverty. And globally, what she's saying is that, in fact, as they started measuring global poverty, which I think was measured at anybody below about $2 a day, right, was global poverty. That rate for both poverty and hunger reduced in half during that 15-year period. Now, that's what the data supported globally, not just in our little community, right? But the idea here, we want to take this. Now that we got to 2015, we added a few more goals, mostly around climate. That's what happened with the 8 goals initially, plus 9 more, mostly around climate, 17 goals, and extended that to 2030. The goal now is, let's bring this locally. So that's why Local 2030. So the site on this globally is called local2030.org. And if folks are interested in this program, to see what countries are signing up, what progress is being made, et cetera, that's the place to go. In the US, basically, LA, New York, Hawaii have been three of the major hubs. I was just in Washington, D.C., as I mentioned, they're on this program, and more are going to start picking it up. San Diego is looking at it right here in Southern Cal. And then, for us, we want to work with the Orange County groups.
Those are just wild numbers. But you know what? I'm gonna have to go talk to your chief technology officer for a minute. Peter, you got yourself muted. I can't unmute you, Peter. You muted yourself. Look, that's a man that knows those technologies. He's already here muting himself. But I got to ask you, so some of these goals, and I love the fact that you're involved in the technology piece, but some of these goals, when I hear them and I think poverty and technology, I always think, well, technology historically has been a driving factor in some forms of poverty. When you think about, items that get created that make building easier, that make less people have to be involved in a process, how in a situation like this is technology helping? And look, technology is also, we can say technology in the environment, we have better machines. So how in a situation like this is technology helping to drive the 17 SDGs?
I have a big smile because this is the answer I've been wanting to give. My wife is in Indonesia all the time, and the level of poverty between the rich and poor is so high there. It's a little bit crazy. Now, so when I was assigned to be the technology officer, the first country I thought about is Indonesia, because there are, Indonesia is the fourth most populous nation in the world. And so many people are younger people, they don't have a job. So the first project I'm going to bring into Indonesia is electrifying all their motorcycles. And that number is going to be about 100 million motorcycles. And the first project that we're doing is converting all the Gojek driver. I don't know if you know Gojek in Indonesia is the little scooters that it's like Uber on motorcycles, and they also have Grab, which is like the Uber delivery, for Uber Eats, right? So we're able to secure a deal right now. We're talking to a big manufacturer out of Taiwan to provide them with this electric scooters that runs on electricity, that have a swappable battery they could use, and it will create a domino effect by providing jobs for the Uber drivers. I mean, for the Gojek riders, they be able to start their own delivery business. Again, we already in talks with Gojek and Grab, those two big companies, and it will create a domino effect of jobs because we're literally giving away the motorcycles at $2 a day. They can rent them, lease them for $2 a day. And, after 2 years, that motorcycle, they can keep, right? So it creates a mini economy, a micro loan, so to speak, if you want to put it that way. It's a micro loan to give them the tool to be able to make a living. And they can actually, deliver. In fact, they can use the motorcycle for transportation as well, in a way that it not only solve the because every motorcycle that we convert electricity save 2 ton of carbon emission per year. So It meets goal number 13, climate action. It solves the inequality, because we're now empower women to be able to ride women only rider. Again, Indonesia is a very conservative country, and many women feel uncomfortable riding with a man in the back of a scooter, right? So they ended up, taking bus, and it's a crazy mess. I believe by providing this new form of transportation, it will empower women, empower most younger folks to join the workforce, be able to make a living according to their time, if they want to work hard or not, right? So I think, this is a test project that we are working on. We should finish by end of the year, converting at least 100,000 gas motorcycle into electric motorcycles, and so forth and so on. Again, all those solutions are capitalistic solutions because we're not a donation from UN to implement this. We actually have a fund. We created a venture fund those motorcycles, almost like a Lyft over here. Eventually, we're going to go public and things like that. So I think by combining the capitalistic solutions together with the technology, we can really solve this goals that.
I gotta laugh. The chief technology officer's got bad internet service right now. I'm sorry. That was making me laugh. I'm sorry, Peter. I don't mean to laugh, but when the chief technology officer's internet's going out, I was feeling it for a moment. It made me feel better about the fact that I have technology issues all the time. But now I want to piggyback off of what you were saying, because we're gonna get ready to close the bar up here soon. We're coming up on that hour mark, but I want to piggyback on this. Recently was working with a gentleman whose company has a big footprint in India, and he was telling me a story. And then I visit with some members of my church who can no longer make it in. Gentlemen, the one gentleman was 96, the other one was 93, and I learned some stuff from the one gentleman who was in the Korean War. I never knew there was a naval battle in the Korean War. Never heard that a day in my life. And he's like, yeah, the destroyer I was on got hit by a torpedo. I'm like, blew my mind. Yeah, Dave's making faces like, Dave, that's a whole story we can talk about. I got you muted. I'm sorry. But what about, and again, staying with this, act locally, think globally. How does a tool like this work in some of these countries? And India was the one that I was thinking of because both of these gentlemen, company in India and the other one visited India. How do you get places that their entire culture is built on a class system that says, I was born at this level, I'm not allowed to go beyond this? And Dave, if you want to answer it, throw a thumbs up. Somebody though, tell me, how do we approach this in that act locally, think globally, to apply these 17 SDGs to those type of situations? You got it, Peter. You want it, David? Here, I'll unmute you, Dave.
Peter, go. I think Peter would be good if his mic works. Yeah, I'd like him to answer.
Yeah. So unfortunately, that is the caste system that India has implemented over, I want to say, centuries. Again, this is a very system where certain type of folks can only do a certain type of work, right? Again, certainly India is one of that pledge to join the pledge to follow the SDGs that United Nations has set forth. Let's see, number 4 in quality education, and number 5 gender equality, as well as reduce inequality, number 10. So number 3, 4, and 10, reduce inequality, is something that India government should really follow. Again, I just came back from Taiwan. They have the 17 SDGs painted on the school walls, both in elementary school, junior high school, and high school. And I was there, and I was like, put myself to shame. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, where's the biggest country of United Nations where it's based at? We don't even see that anywhere. But in this little village in Taiwan, we actually see S17, and they are not even the United Nations member. So I was just dumbfounded. So I think it does take a lot of work in terms of government to to change that, so that they can be, join the United Nations in that sense. By, again, a lot of people, including folks from India, despise the caste system, because this is America is a country based on equality, right? So I think it will take the will of the government, and people do want it, want to have equality. So I think if that happens, I don't know when, but it'll be great. And again, our goal is before 2030, the caste system will be gone, and I certainly hope that would happen.
Now, have you set for yourself, and I'm going to kind of take this question around the horn. So I'm going to stick it to you first, Peter. Sorry, because I already still had you unmuted. So we'll give the other two a chance to think about it. Have you set, of those 17 SDGs that, folks, look, you can find those on una-oc.org. You can find them on UNA USA.org. You can find those on there. Again, 200 chapters across the U.S. You can find Kristin Manna, and it's Manna, Dave Rice, and Peter Quoy. Did I say it right,
Quo.
Peter?
Oh, like
Quo.
status quo? Yeah.
Status quo, Peter Quo. See, I butcher names all the time. If anyone knows me, like I have an applicant tracking system, ATS system I work with at work. I'm the guy that puts next to people's names in parentheses the pronunciations, because I jack names up all the time, and I have to, or I would just call you and be like, I don't know what. So I do that. So have you set, of those 17 goals, any one in particular that you say to yourself, this is mine, this is the one that, if in my time involved here, if I achieve this one, this is the one that I would be happy to say I achieved?
Yes and yes. So here in front of me is a list of the 17 SDGs. This is my own list. And under each 17 SDGs, I'm starting to plug in technologies that could solve each problem. So, for example, goal number 7, affordable and clean energy. And I have this company called newscalepower.com. What they are promoting, or already got approval, is the modular nuclear power. Size of a shoebox, can actually power a whole city, a small city. So modular nuclear power.
Movie, Peter, I saw that movie. I saw that. I saw that movie where the shoebox nuclear power.
I mean, yeah. The solution is there.
Stallone might have been in that or something.
Yeah, I remember Keanu Reeves and the motorcycle. They ran away from it.
Keanu Reeves might have been involved in that.
But of course, nuclear technology. Nuclear power is a lot for nowadays, and plus this company already got their approval back in October from U.S. Energy Department for mass production. So again, the solution is there. Of course, wind and solar is still viable, or clean energy. So that's just one example. The capitalistic solution can actually solve to meet the goals, and not only. Komodo fire system, for example, is under goal number 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. This is a material that you put on anything, it would never burn. You can coat it with, coat your house with this Komodo fire system, and you never burn.
You guys need that in California.
In the wildfire situation here in California. So I'm plugging one company at a time. And some of the or even human trafficking, we have a facial recognition. If you lost your child, that system can find your child within 0.2 seconds, and it's been implemented right now at the British underground system. So again, the solutions is there. It's just the will of government to even know about this, and that's my job. That's where my job comes in. I want the world government to know that, hey, solutions are there for you to meet these goals using technologies, because we often just give ourselves a pat on the back. Great job, nice report, and 2030 going to come here in in a blink of at least I can ask myself, I have done my work. Let
Did your
the
part.
people around the world know about this. Yeah, I did my part. Right. Yeah.
How about you, Kristin? What's your one that you're like, you got yourself muted? There you go. What's your one that you're like, this is my one?
Well, I have three. So
God,
can I share?
5 minutes.
Okay. So my first one is no poverty. I really feel like I was just reading an article about Santa Ana in Orange County, and we are on I'm in a hunger cliff, and the county is now going to have weekly hunger drives and food drives. So I just really like hunger has been it. I just feel like people need to eat, to survive. And I just feel like in our world, in our country today, with the price of goods and inflation, I think, oh my gosh, I really would like to, help with people with that. And my other one would be really like good health and well-being, and I'm applying to be a commissioner for community service in the city of Tustin. I hope to get it. But what I'm going to be doing is, as a commissioner, is working with entities. And that's also what I want to do for the government. My government affairs ambassador is to work with each city in Orange County and find ways to tackle hunger and well-being and also education. Because I think my grandfather always told me, he's like, Kristin, education is the platform to success. And I think, you know what? If you have a will, there should be a way that everybody who wants to get an education can get an education. So those are my three that I'd like to tackle.
All right, Dave, because we can unmute you now.
Good. All right. So the thing that I want to say is that, first of all the goals are completely interrelated. They all affect each other. And so it's really not just, picking one or they all affect each other. What I'm most interested in is helping our community here by the framework of setting targets, collaborating, and actually then using data to start gauging our progress and really working smarter. Because if you look at our system today, our societal systems to solve problems, it's not very functional. They're kind of broken. And we just need a smarter way to do it. And this is, I think, a really good way to do that. The goal number 17 of the 17 goals says the only way we can achieve all the goals is through true collaboration. And I would say for me, that's maybe the most important one overall, is really to get everybody working together. That's right and left and center. That's, all belief systems. That's, government entities working with academia, with business, with the nonprofit sector. And that's what we're really trying to accomplish here. So I have to say, it's a really exciting program. It's really fun to be a part of. And, I really appreciate you're giving us this chance to talk a little bit about it.
Absolutely. I had to read Tom's stuff though. All right, Tom, because I love you, brother. So aircraft carriers are the model for nuclear powered cities. 100%. If you've ever been on an aircraft carrier, they're nuclear powered. And everything on them is run by nuclear. And guess what? They're hippy dippies. Nuclear's clean. Look at that shit. Who knew it? It's clean energy. He says that poverty in the modern era is a choice by the society, not the individual. I understand the argument there, but Tom, this is one of those 8 hours on a train. You and me can have this debate. He says education is a platform, if not built on the mountain of student debt. Look, that's called keep the federal government out of education, and we wouldn't have the mountain of debt. And also, people, Tom, and you and I have discussed this many times, that the only reason so many jobs require a college education is because I did it. You should have to do it also, not because of anything else. I have an aunt who was a bank vice president in charge of East Coast ATM operations, who will tell you she has a high school diploma. She just got into the work as it started. And then Tom is so anti-capitalism, but He makes me laugh. Capitalism is the opposite of collaboration. Tom, get over it. Capitalism is where we live. You suck it up, Buttercup. I love you. You know that. But as we do on every episode, if you didn't go back and listen, Kristin knows that this is coming. We're going to do this in a moment, so you got to get yourself prepared. The guest always gets the last. It's not a fact, Tom. It's not a fact, no matter what you think. All right. The guest always gets the last word. But look, folks, if you're finding us through Peter, through Dave, through Kristin, make sure you take a moment, whatever platform you're listening to us with. If you're watching us live right now, give us a 5-star rating, put a review on there. If it's on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, give us that 5-star rating. If you're listening to the audio afterwards, whether it be Apple, Podbean, Spotify, Stitcher, whatever it is, that 5-star rating, it might sound like one of those shows that your kids watch and they're like, go ahead and like and subscribe. Guess what, folks? We need you to like and subscribe because no one hears this message unless you do. The algorithms are put together. I'll ask my chief technology officer, Peter, and he will tell you that if you don't hit that like and that 5-star rating, the technology does not know to push this forward. It doesn't know that people want to hear this. So you've got to go out and do that. Make sure you're also checking your local, see if one of those 200 organizations is in your local area. Again, that's unausa.org for the national. If you're out in California, or as my friends call it, Khalifa, it's una-oc.org. Make sure you give them a check. Kristin, since you're the only one right now, oh no, Peter unmuted himself. So we'll start with, I'm going to let you to last because Kristin, we have a history. You didn't know that we had a history. It sounds horrible saying it that way.
It's a good history.
Good history. I don't want my wife to be like, what's this history, or her husband, but we have a history. But Peter, we'll start with you. What is the final word from you?
Well, I'll play a song. It's called Happy, and just remind everyone to be happy, at the end of the day, right? Yeah. 30 seconds. It's a Hungarian folk song. I hope you like it.
All right. David, I'm going to unmute you.
All right. Look, I just want to just tell Peter and Kristin how grateful I am to be collaborating with them. And really, this is such an exciting program to be working on. Volunteer, it's kind of a semi-retirement program for me, but I've never had so much fun and felt so gratified to not only be in a program that I think can really make a difference, but to be working with just some awesome people that can really have an impact. And so anyway, I'm just grateful. And thank you again so much for this chance to let people know about this.
Absolutely. All right, Kristin, you get the final word.
Okay, here's what I wanted to say. Okay, so I really feel in my heart that your life, there are 17 SDGs and there are 17 big goals that we have. And I think that if people would look and find a passion that they have and that they would find something that they would want to help others with, I think your world opens up when you help other people. And I think it reshifts your priorities, and we're really here to help other people and make this world a better place. And I think whatever steps you take, everybody can work on making this world a better place.
All righty, folks, be sure to push your stool in.
This has been an Earplug Podcast presentation, found on earplugpodcast.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and wherever your favorite podcasts are found.